Here's everything you need to know for Super Bowl 59 between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. We're going to start in the trenches. I think every game is won and lost in the trenches here. We're going to start on the Philadelphia offensive side. Philadelphia has probably the best offensive line in football here. At left tackle, you have Jordan Mailata. He's the number 1 block grade, PFF block grade, number 2 pass grade. At left guard, you have Landon Dickerson, overall number 4th left guard, 4th in run blocking, 19th in pass blocking. At center, a little bit of a downgrade this year from Kelsey. You have Cam Jurgensen, overall the number 11th center, 14th in run blocking, 39th in pass blocking. At right guard, Mekhi Becton, overall 18th guard in the NFL, 19th in run blocking, 48th in pass blocking. And at right guard, we have Lane Johnson, overall number 5 tackle in the NFL, 4th in run blocking, 6th in pass blocking. So overall, a very stacked offensive line. Let's go over the KC defensive line. At the right edge, you have Mike Dana, overall 68th graded edge defenders, 89th in pass rush, and 65th in run defense. On the interior, Mike Pennell, 45th interior defensive line, 19th in run blocking, and 58.5 pass rush grade. Also on the interior, the best defensive inside grade, Chris Jones, ranked number 1 in the NFL in pass rush grade, and 23rd in run defense. And on the left edge, George Karlaftis, overall 37 out of 189, and edge, 34th in pass rush and 70th in run defense. So outside of Chris Jones, it looks like the Eagles have a big mismatch here on the offensive line. They'll be able to work the run blocking and the pass blocking here. So that's huge for the Eagles, considering the Eagles run the most percent of rushing plays at 55% of time. You can see Kansas City down here at number 20 running 42% of run plays. So the Eagles run the most amount of run plays. They are 3rd in the NFL in yards per carry at 4.8. They are 2nd in the NFL in yards before contact per attempt at 2. They are 4th in the NFL in run blocking grade, and the only team in the NFL who runs more often than passes. How does the Chiefs' run defense add up? Well, they're only 10th in the NFL in run defense grade. They're 9th allowed in yards per attempt allowed at 4.2, 4th in yards after contact per attempt allowed at 2.7, and 20th in yards per attempt allowed at 4.3 versus the inside zone. Now, you may have heard of this guy before, Saquon Barkley. He took the league on fire this year, overall averaging a ridiculous 6 yards per carry, 18 touchdowns with only 2 fumbles. He has 54 rushes of over 10 yards, and you can see he runs the most percent of inside zone run types. When Barkley does run, it's majority up the middle there, either left or right of the center, but he also does run to the edges. Again, remember the left tackle and the right tackle, pretty good at their position. You can see 56 attempts at left end, 27 at left tackle, 54 at right end, 23 at right tackle. So either up the sides or up the middle, he usually runs. So how's the second level of the KC run defense here? You have Drew Tranquil at linebacker. He's about average 38th out of 84 in linebackers, below average in run defense at 52 out of 86. In the middle, you have Nick Bolton, also average 48th out of 84 linebackers, 51st out of 86 in run defense, below average there. Leo Chenal actually has the highest run defense grade at a 90.2, 4th in the NFL, but he doesn't play that many rushing snaps. So how has KC done against opposing running backs? In that last game against Buffalo, you can see James Cook going for 6.5 yards per carry at 85 yards on 13 attempts, 2 touchdowns. Before that, Joe Mixon went for 88 yards, 4.89 yards a carry, a touchdown as well. Week 18 against the Broncos, we're going to ignore. I think they only had backups in there for that game. Jaylen Warren went 6.45 yards per carry on 11 attempts. Najee Harris also went 5.69 yards per carry. Joe Mixon, again, over 4 yards per carry. Look, Jerome Ford goes 84 yards on 7 carries at 12 yards per carry. So it looks like there's some running backs not even comparable to Saquon that are also going up over 5 yards per carry. Overall, we talked about the KC is number 9th, allowing 4.2 yards per carry, only seeing 25.2 rushes per game, and their number 9th rush defense at 106 yards per game allowed. But Philly's the number 1 rushing offense in the league, so I may expect these numbers to be higher than what was already posted. So it looks like the Philadelphia is going to be able to run the ball, but what about passing the ball here? We have Trent McDuffie, on the receiver side, we have Johan Dotson. On the outside, he's graded the 124th receiver out of 133, only a 53.8 receiving grade. But in the slot, you have Devontae Smith. He's a number 19th in a receiving grade at 83.1. And on the outside, you have A.J. Brown, the number 4 wide receiver at 90.3 receiving grade. How do they match up with the KC DBs here? On the outside, you have Trent McDuffie. He's the number 2 ranked quarterback, 83.4, 5th in coverage grade, 1st in pass rush grade. On the other side, you have Jalen Watson, ranked number 30th overall in the NFL, 21st in coverage, 51.3 in run pass rusher. And in their slot corner, you have Chamari Connor, overall ranked 42 out of 118 corners, 57th out of 116 in coverage grade. So where does A.J. Brown line up? You can see here most of his snaps are going to be wide receiver, even split between right and left, almost even there. Whereas Devonta Smith here, you can see he splits most of his snaps between slot and out wide. Out wide, it splits between right and left. So 50% of the time he's in the slot, 25% he's left wide receiver, 25% of the time he's right wide receiver. Same thing here with Johan Dotson. When he does play, he looks like he's going to play mostly on the outside, leaving the slot to Devonta Smith. So it looks like in 3 wide receiver packages, it's going to be A.J. Brown and Johan Dotson on the outside, leaving Devonta Smith in the slot here. And then when the Eagles go 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, it's mostly going to be A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith on the outside. If you look up the snaps for Trent McDuffie, again, he's their best cornerback. He only plays mostly the outside corners, split between right and left cornerback, rarely goes into the slot here. So that's the matchup to watch here. It's Trent McDuffie versus A.J. Brown on the outside. When they go nickel, it's going to be Chamari Connors here in the slot as a slot corner, getting most of their snaps. So it's going to be Connors versus Devonta Smith in the slot. Now against tight ends, the Chiefs actually give up the most yards to tight ends, to opposing tight ends in the league at 67.1. They also allow the 4th highest yards per reception at 11.19. They also allow the 7th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. So that's a matchup to watch for, is Dallas Goedert here as the tight end, or Grant Calcaterra on the other tight end there against the linebackers Drew Tranquill or the strong safety Cook there. Overall, on offense, the Eagles have not relied on Hurts to do much in the air. I think he's only averaging less than 200 passing yards per game. That's because, again, Saquon Barkley is carrying most of the workload there. So if I'm the KC, I'm trying to shut down Saquon Barkley. I'm going to try to force Jalen Hurts to throw. And if he does throw, it looks like it's kind of evenly matched on the outside. A.J. Brown, very hard to deal with. But Devonta Smith in the slot actually has a decent matchup. And Dallas Goedert as well at tight end has a decent matchup as well, if they can't get Saquon Barkley running out of the backfield. All right, let's move over to the KC offensive side of the ball. Let's take a look at their offensive line, starting with left tackle. Left tackle Joe Thunley, he's the 8th ranked guard in the league, 80.2, 2nd in pass blocking, 15th in run blocking. At left guard, Mike Caliendo, he's 72nd out of 77th in offensive grade, 68th in 73 in pass blocking grade, and 49.7 run blocking grade. At center, the best center in football, Creed Humphrey, ranked number 1 in the league, number 1 in pass blocking, and number 2 in run blocking. At right guard, we have Trey Smith, 14th out of 77th in guards, 75.3 offensive grade, 10th in run blocking, 30th in pass blocking. And at right tackle, Jawan Taylor, 62nd out of 81 overall, 40th in run blocking, 59th in run blocking, 40th in pass blocking. So I believe Thunley was playing right tackle. They just moved him over to left tackle, so worth noting there. And then Caliendo, I think, is backup. Look at the snaps there. Just started playing in week 15, filling in for an injury. Now the Eagles' defensive line, probably one of the best in the league as well. On the right edge, you have Josh Sweat, 34th ranked edge defender, 42nd in pass rushing, 41st in run defense. On the interior, Milton Williams, 18th overall, 2nd in pass rush, 116th in run defense. Also on the interior, Jalen Carter, 14th overall, 46th in run defense, number 4 in pass rush. And then completing it on the edge, you have Nolan Smith, 25th overall, 16th in run defense, 40th in pass rush. So those are some matchups to watch there. In the middle of the interior, you have Williams and Carter versus the backup left guard in Caliendo, but backed up against Humphreys. Humphreys, whatever way he's going to pull, you might find some one-on-one matchups there against Caliendo. In the second level of the linebackers, Eagles linebackers there, you have Oren Burks, number 6 linebacker, graded 77.7 run defense, 73.8 pass rush. And the Eagles actually have the number 1 linebacker in the league at Zach Bond, 17th in run defense, 8th in pass rush, 1st in coverage grade. Overall, I think the defensive line of the Eagles is going to have a little bit of success here. It's going to match up. Humphrey's going to have to do some double work here in the middle. But all of the front 4 of the Eagles are going to do a lot of pressure here up the middle. Here we have the rankings of the Eagles defensive tackles. Overall grade, they're 1st in the NFL, 1st in the NFL in pass rush grade, 2nd in pressure rate, and 1st overall in pass rush win rate. Now, Casey's really been splitting the backfield work between Pacheco. Here, you can see here the snaps for Pacheco seems to be going down as the weeks going on there, right? Started out as their starter in weeks 1 and 2, and then 13, 14, 15, you can see the snaps really declining as each game goes by. That's because the other half of the work goes to Kareem Hunt. You can see his snaps being there. Definitely came up in the championship conference finals there. Kareem Hunt rated the better runner at 24 out of 46. If we take a look at Kansas City rushing, rushing only at 42% of the time, at second worst yards per rush at 3.9 yards per carry, 26 rushes per game, and 104 yards rushing per game. Overall, number 23 in run offense. On defense, it's the number 8th Philadelphia run defense, allowing 104 rushing yards per game at 4.3 yards per carry. You can also see Philadelphia allowing the second fewest opposing rushing TDs per game at 0.6. Now, because of the defensive line of Philly, I don't think that Mahomes is going to have a ton of time to pass. He's going to have to use a lot of quick throws to get around the pass rush. So this was pretty crazy. Here's the passing grades of all the quarterbacks sorted by ADOT, average depth of target here. Anthony Richardson leads the league here. And if you go here all the way down to the bottom here, Patrick Mahomes, 3rd last in average depth of target at 6.9. Only Gardner Minshew and Tua Tagovailoa have a shorter average depth of target. Here's the passing tree of Mahomes. You can see he likes the middle of the field, going up to the middle 154 times within 10 yards, over 20 yards, between 20 and 10, 60 times, and then going deep only 14 times in the middle, spreading out the left and right there as well. Only 1 of 14 incompletions going deep middle of 20 yards plus. He has 103 passer rating when he does throw into the middle there, 116 deep middle, right? So a lot of those short passes are going to cover the middle of the field, so keep an eye on that. Here's his passing grades by target there. Deep left, he actually has a 95.4 passing grade going deep left. His worst passing grade is deep center at 42.4. And then in the middle there, pretty decent intermediate and short left. You can see 82.8, 67% completion rate, intermediate center, 78% completion rate, short center as well. In terms of KC receivers, we have Marquise Hollywood Brown here. You can see he was injured for most of the season, came back week 16. Since week 16, his snap count has increased game by game. I'm assuming he's going to see more snaps here in the Super Bowl as well. On the other side, you have Juju Smith-Schuster. He's ranked 100 out of 125, 60.2 receiving grade. And then in the slot here, you're going to have the speedster Xavier Worthy, ranked 60th overall, 61st in receiving grade. Let's see how they match up against Philadelphia's cornerbacks. We have Quinyon Mitchell. He's the number 8th ranked cornerback in the league, 6th in coverage on the outside. In the slot, we have the standout rookie Cooper DeJean, number 3rd cornerback in the league as a rookie, 6th in coverage grade, 2nd in run defense. And then on the outside, you have Darius Slade, the ranked 24th cornerback, 18th in coverage, 72nd in run defense. In terms of alignment of those receivers there, you can see Xavier Worthy in the slot 37% of the time, out wide 61% of the time. Hopkins now 26% of the time in the slot, 74% out wide. Noah Gray, Juju is about 41% in the slot, 57% out wide. And Marquise Brown about 40% of the slot, 60% out wide. So they definitely they rotate those receivers in and out of the slot. They don't have like a primary slot receiver. Everybody goes in there, even McCole Hardman's in there 39% of the time. But overall, in terms of the cornerbacks versus receivers there, it does look like the Philadelphia Eagles have the edge at cornerback as well, having the 8th, 3rd, and 24th ranked cornerbacks. And you can see the receivers not really ranked that well. Juju not really doing well. Connor Worthy probably their best receiver, and he's only 60th out of 133. So obviously people are going to think that Mahomes is going to go to Kelce. That's who he's relied on in the playoffs so far, right? Kelce, the number 12th ranked tight end in the league. But again, we talked about Bond. His coverage grade. He's the best coverage linebacker in the league. So that's going to be a tough matchup for Kelce there. And then Gardner Johnson there. He's also 6th in coverage as well. So again, Kelce not going to have the best of matchups here against the Philadelphia defense. So how has Kelce done against the Eagles historically? His last game there is in November 2023. He goes 7 receptions on 9 targets for only 44 yards, 1 touchdown. And then they played them in the playoffs in 2023 there. Going back to that, he had 6 targets, 6 receptions, 81 yards, 1 touchdown as well. Going back before that, 2021, 6 targets, 4 receptions, only 23 yards. And then you got to go back to 2017 where he actually went off, 8 reception on 10 targets, 1 catch. So overall, it doesn't look like Kelce really goes off against the Eagles. Again, we talked about the linebackers. We talked about the coverage. Safeties there doing pretty good against tight end. You can see here the Eagles actually the 5th lowest yards allowed to opposing tight ends. They also allowed the fewest yards per carry or yards per catch to tight ends at 8.5. Let's see how the Eagles have performed against opposing tight ends there. In that last game, Zach Ertz going off 11 for 16, 104 yards, 9.45 yards per catch. I'd have to go back to that game, but I think it was because they took away some of the receivers. In terms of the strength of schedule, not really big name tight ends that they've played against there. Tyler Higbee, Tucker Kraft, Chris Manhertz for the Eagles, Jake Ferguson going 18 yards, Zach Ertz, the last time they played there only got 12 yards, Pat Freiermuth. Doesn't look like many teams try to pass their tight ends much against them. Mark Andrews going 6 for 7 for 67 yards, Isaiah Likely 5 catches there as well. Those are probably the best tight ends. Evan Ingram going 50%, 5 of 10 for 45 yards. Overall, pretty good against the tight ends, but hasn't played against elite tight ends like Travis Kelce. Okay, so on paper, it looks like the Philadelphia Eagles dominate them on defense here. They're going to have the better defensive line against the offensive line of KC. Pacheco and Hunt don't really do too much out of the backfield. Philadelphia has some really good linebackers against the tight ends there as well, so it's not like Kelce has a mismatch. The receivers for Kansas City as well have poor matchups against the Philadelphia Eagles cornerbacks there. So I'm not really seeing a huge advantage here for the Chiefs here on offense. I think the defensive line is going to create a lot of pressure up front. It's going to be Mahomes and those quick throws. He's been doing it all season. The Eagles run a lot of too high safety as well, so they're going to take away a lot of those big plays. They're going to force Mahomes to go dink and dunk in the middle. I can see a lot of time running off the clock here because Mahomes will take what the defense gives him. If he's going to give him that underneath stuff that we talked about in the middle of the field between 10 and 20 yards, he'll take it. So you'll see a lot of quick throws. It's going to come down to the yards after catch. So it could be karma worthy trying to get a lot of the action there because he's more yards after the catch. You might see a lot of quick slants, things like that. So I'm looking at sort of Mahomes' completions over because, again, I don't think he goes big plays. I think he goes dink and dunk, try to work his way up the field. He's going to have to because of that pass rush is going to get there. But because of the Eagles, they only need to rush 4. They can drop the rest into coverage there and have a pretty good secondary as well. So I think that the Eagles are going to limit a lot of the big play potential here from Kansas City on offense. And so, like, overall on paper, the Eagles on the both sides of the ball on paper look to be the better team, look to have the better skill positions. The things, the intangibles that you don't really think about, though, is Andy Reid and the coaching, Spagnuolo on defense in terms of how they match up against Jalen Hurts there. But again, on defense, it looks like the Mahomes is going to probably struggle here. I'm not looking at taking any overs for Kansas City based on the numbers that I'm seeing here and based on the matchups. I will look at some of the unders in terms of Travis Kelce. The other thing that KC always does and Mahomes really does is spread the ball around. He doesn't have like a go-to target that he really targets. He moves it around based on coverages, things like that. So I'd be wary of taking any Kansas City player over just because of how much Mahomes spreads that ball around. And again, Kelsey's not going to be that security blanket that he's used to. Then going back to the Philadelphia offense again, we said that Philadelphia offense, their offensive line is going to have the advantage, their receivers are going to have the advantage, and the tight end there, Dallas Goedert, is also going to have the advantage. So for me, the pick seems obvious based on the numbers, based on the stats here. I'm going to have to side with the Philadelphia Eagles just because of the stats and the numbers. I'm probably going to land on the under on the game, and I'm going to be looking at a lot of player props under. Again, I don't think because of the biggest game, everybody hates taking hates taking unders because they want to cheer for something. But the sports books know this. They're going to juice those lines to hell. And so it's probably plus EV taking a lot of these unders. I think that if you take every player prop under, you probably hit about 65% of them. And again, we talked about the success that Barkley going to have on the offense. I think that Barkley can run for those 6 yards per carry, rack up some of those first downs there, take a lot of the time off the clock. I think they're going to win the time of possession there as well. And then Mahomes, again, he's going to have to throw those dink and dunk passes there. So I can see a lot of extended drives, long drives, a lot of plays to march the ball down the field. I don't think there's going to be a ton of explosive plays. So that's why I'm sort of leaning the under. I also did look at Chris Jones' tackles here. Again, he's going to be in the middle of the edge here. Sometimes he plays on the outside there, and we talked about how Barkley likes to run to the outside. So I think I have his tackles at 2.5 or 3.5 there. That was worth a look there. I think that number's come down a little bit, but I'll keep on looking at some of these player props. That's sort of what stands out there. I do think that the Eagles, keep time of possession. So I'm really not looking at playing a lot of the overs. I don't think that Mahomes is going to have a lot of time to work and have a ton of passes and big plays. Big chunk yardages and stuff like that. So if you're going to take any overs, try to take some receptions overs on the KC side. It depends on how they try to deal with Saquon Barkley out of the backfield. If they completely stack the box KC against Barkley, then Jalen Hurts is required to throw. I can see him going over his passing yards. I can see the matchups for Philadelphia is pretty good there. But, if Barkley goes off for 200 yards, then that's pretty safe there as well. So I like the Eagles to win. In terms of MVP, Barkley's pretty clear MVP candidate. But again, if they shut him down like I expect them to try, then Hurts as the quarterback for the winning team is not going to be a bad look. Again, he's the third favorite guy to get it there. Keep an eye on that one because I don't think it's going to go to any of the receivers, considering that Hurts can spread their ball around as well. They tend to go to their favorite targets, Hurts and Devonta Smith. I can see Devonta Smith having a big game as well. Might look at some of the overs for Devonta Smith or Dallas Goedert, maybe laddered some of his receptions or yardage there. So best of luck. It is the Super Bowl. One thing I want to warn you guys, there's always going to be another game. Don't go crazy with the betting. I say that, but I'm going to go crazy probably, so keep that in mind. But best of luck. Let me know in the comments below what you think and how you guys are going to do. Let me know on Monday how you guys did and if you guys crushed anything.